Hello again and welcome to Unit 1 in Week 3 of Build Your Own Fiori App in the Cloud. In this session, we'll talk about the anatomy of SAP Fiori transaction application. We'll try to dissect a Fiori application and understand exactly how it's built. This should help you understand not only how to use Fiori application, but how to better design them and definitely how to better build them so they match the same look and feel as well as the same behavior as any other Fiori application. There are very strict guidelines on how Fiori applications should be built, and they are all documented online, and I'll show you later where you can find the latest information on how to design and build those applications. In week 1 of this course, you already played with several Fiori applications, so we are already familiar with the two main design layouts that we have, the master detail layout and the full screen layout. Those are the most common layouts that we have. From time to time, we can see other layouts, but they are quite rare. So I assume, and we can safely assume, that most applications that you are going to build are going to match either the master detail or the full screen. If we look at those two layouts, we see that there are many commonalities between the two. On the top part of the screen of both layouts, we have the page header. The page header, the top header, is coming from the Launchpad itself. It usually contains the search engine, the login or the user management, and the home button. Below the top header, we have the actual application header. On a full screen application, the header is from side to side. And in a master detail application, we have actually two headers, one for the list of value and one for the detail area. In the middle of the application, usually where all the action is happening, we have a place for the floor plan. A floor plan is a design template, and most people who are familiar with WebDin for application are familiar with floor plans. It's a design template for application that represents a specific task. We are trying to make sure that we are doing repeatable action in a similar way. So if I need to create a business object, I need to edit a business object, I want to remove a business object, I can do it in a similar way and have a similar layout of the graphical element on the screen. Those layouts are the floor plans, and I'll show you them in a second. If we look at the master detail template, slightly more details, you see that at the top, as I mentioned, we have the Launchpad header. Below that, we have two separate headers, the master list header on the left side and the details header on the right side. Under the details header, we have the actual application content or the floor plan itself. And under the master list header, we can usually find another search engine for the application itself, which is different than the search engine we have on the top, and the actual list of value. At the bottom part of the application, we'll find the footer. The footer can also be split into two, depending on the template. If it's a master detail, we have actually two footers. If it's a full screen, we have one. If we look at some of the floor plans that we can see, they represent different activities that the user might want to do inside the application. We have a floor plan for the creation of a page, for the editing of a page or a business element. We have a floor plan of list. We have a floor plan that actually shows all the information about an object, and that specific floor plan has two versions, one with several tabs and one that we call a flat object view that actually show all the elements on one screen that you can scroll in order to get more information. Those floor plans can actually behave differently if we show them on a tablet, a desktop, and mobile. Usually when we have tablet and desktop screens, you can see both the list of value on the left side and the floor plan on the right side. But if we switch to a mobile view, and on a small screen of a mobile device, I can't actually show both the list of value and the actual floor plan, and then the floor plan actually fills the screen. I will have the list of value on one screen, and once I click on an item, I will have the detail with the floor plan shown on the next screen. I can always go back using the back arrow. So how do I actually use the application or navigate in the application? In order to navigate in a Fiori application, we're using the header. The header appears always on the top part of the screen and is used primarily for navigation and for some user information. The header can actually change depending on the level of drill down I'm doing as a user inside the application. The top level of the header is coming from the Launchpad and includes the search field as well as my company logo, the user login and log out, and things like that. Once I start to work with the application, I click on an item in the list or I click on something in the floor plan, I am actually drilling down and getting more and more data. Then the header changes. The header provides me with navigational element. I have a back arrow if I want to go back one level. I can have paging arrow if I want to see more information that I need to scroll down. And if I'm having a master detail element, I might have a split header in which I have one arrow that takes me back to the Launchpad and one arrow that takes me back one level from a detail screen back to the list of value. And I will show you a demo of that later. At the bottom part of the screen, we have the footer. The footer is not used for navigation like the header, but the footer is used to trigger all kinds of activities. In other place, that's where I'm going to put my buttons. If I have an action button, I want to approve, I want to reject, I want to go, I want to see more information, I want to aggregate content, I want to filter content, all those activity buttons appear in the footer. They should not appear anywhere else in the application. The footer, like the header, can have different looks depending if I'm running it on a mobile device or if I'm using a different layout. In a master detail, like the header, the footer might be split, but in other cases, I will try to make sure that in the footer, the user should be able to always find the most appropriate and relevant buttons for the activity that they're trying to achieve at that specific moment. If I have too many buttons in the footer, I can put them in an overflow menu, like the I can put them in an overflow menu, and then the user can press on that and see the list of buttons. It's not always a good idea to have too many buttons. We are trying to make the Fiori applications as simple as possible. So try to make sure that you don't have too many buttons in the footer of the Fiori app. If you do find yourself in a case like that, either think again, is that the right design, or put it inside a menu. Another important graphical element that we see in many Fiori applications are tabs. If I have a lot of information that I need to distribute across multiple pages, I can put them in different tabs and the user just click on different tabs to get more and more information. Tabs can also use to create a process. If I have several steps that need to be fulfilled in a certain order, I can also represent them with tabs, and in this case I usually put arrows between the tab to show the user that you need to move from this tab to this tab to that tab in a certain direction. Tabs has different look and feel. I can create tabs in different colors, trying to represent semantic meaning somehow, like blue for information, red for activities that still needs to be fulfilled, green for activities that were successfully fulfilled. I can do it all in one color if I want to match my brand color or things like that. It's up to you to do, and everything is allowed if you want to change and play with the color, but try to make sure that it makes some sense if you play with colors there. Part of the floor plan is usually a form, and forms are very important. If you are familiar with SAP applications, most of them are either tables or forms. So when we look at those forms, you are trying to make sure that they are simple and that the same form layout is used over and over again in a repeated way. And that's why we have those floor plans that in many cases represent different layout of forms. Form can have one column, forms can have two columns if you have more information. You can create a multi-form that you can scroll down, but try to make sure that you don't have 200 input field in one form, because that's usually not a Fiori application. And another important and very interesting graphical element that we have in Fiori is the responsive table. Responsive tables, and as I mentioned, most of the information we present is either in form or table. Responsive table is a graphical element that enables me to show information in a tabular way, but I can also configure the table and decide what happens when the screen size changes. So if the user is actually reducing the screen size, or if that specific table is going to be presented once on a tablet and once on a mobile device, I can decide that either certain columns in the tables are going to disappear, or that the information is going to appear in one cell, like what you see on the right side, that actually I can stack the information into one cell and show all that information. It's not really a tabular format, but at least the information is there. So the responsive table is a configurable graphical element that enables you to create or present information in a tabular way that can also be adapted to different screen sizes, and this is a very, very useful UI control. Buttons are also important, and as I mentioned, buttons are usually appear at the footer. We try to stick to a certain color scheme here. So if it's something that the user should press, it should be in green. If it's something that the user might not want to press, or it's something negative, like you want to reject an action or disapprove something, it's usually in red. And if I want to get more information about something, then it's usually in blue. One exception is that we can sometimes have buttons that are not in the footer when I want to switch between different views in a calendar. I can have a calendar about year, month, on a day. That can be inside the floor plan and not at the footer, and usually I want to have them as informative buttons, and then they should appear in blue. You can play with the colors, but try to make sure that you have a consistent experience that the user can actually guess what to do with each and every button. And of course, if we are mentioning color, try to make sure that the colors match the overall look and feel of either your brand or what Fiori look and feel out of the box. We are trying to avoid very bright color, neon color, something that might be distracting. We want to make sure that the overall look and feel is professional, is easy on the eye. We're using lots of white, light shades of blue, light shades of gray. So try to keep to that color scheme. And if you want to change the color scheme, try to make it, again, something that is very easy to consume and not something that actually too cheerful and too gamey, if we can say that, to make sure that we actually match the look and feel of other Fiori applications. So let's try and look at some Fiori application and see how this come to action. I'll start with looking at the Fiori Demo Cloud Edition. And here we can actually look at certain application. Let's start from My Benefits application. And My Benefits application is a very simple application, but you can identify immediately that this is a master detail layout. I have a list of value on the left side, and when I click on a certain value, I have the details of that specific item appear on the right side. So this is the most simple template that I have. I can see that I have a back arrow button here, and that takes me back to the Launchpad. Let's look at the Leave Request. The Leave Request is a different template. The Leave Request is a full screen. So I don't have a list of value on the right side. I still have the back button or back arrow that takes me back to the Launchpad. And if I look at that application, I can see that I have the top bar. In this case, in the top bar, I don't have a search field input because this is a demo system. But I still have the home button. I still have the user menu. So that's something that we have in every Fiori app. Let's go back to the home screen and look at the approved purchase order. The approved purchase order is another master detail application, but it's slightly more complex than My Benefit. Here I can actually go and look at different purchase orders and look at different items that I have in a purchase order. I have tabs that show me more information about a specific purchase order, but in each purchase order I have multiple items. So when I click on a specific item, I have another screen. So in this case, I will have a back arrow both on the details section and on the master section. That arrow on the master section will take me back to the Launchpad, while this one will actually take me back one level. Since I have multiple items here, I also have the ability to switch between them with those paging arrows. So this is another example. And let's look at the last example, order from requisition. And in this case, this application is another full screen application. But in this application, we can see several tabs with arrows between them because here I have a process. I need to start with the approval of the requisition, then I need to assign the purchase requisition, then I need to simulate the purchase order, then I need to create a purchase order, and those steps need to be fulfilled in a certain order. So I have several tabs that actually represent a linear workflow that need to be fulfilled. If you want to learn more about the Fiori design, there's an online site for the Fiori design guidelines. Here you can actually find all the information on the Fiori design principles. You can actually go and find information about typography for Fiori application, about the different color scheme that we can use, the different icons, and any other information that is related to the design, as well as information about the different templates and layouts that we have, how to plan the full screen, how to use the master detail template, how to use different graphical control. That site is constantly updated, and I highly recommend you, before you start designing an application or building an app, to go and look at the latest information to make sure that you actually use the latest Fiori design. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Week 3, Unit 2 of the Build Your Own SAP Fiori app in the cloud. Now that you know what Fiori is all about, in this unit I will introduce you to the SAP Web IDE, which is the recommended tool of SAP to develop and extend Fiori applications. My name is Asi Mesika and I'm a product manager for SAP Web IDE. Before getting into the details of the SAP Web IDE, I would like to share with you the key market trends that we took into account when planning the SAP Web IDE. By 2020, at least 70% of new app development will happen in the cloud. This is comparing to less than 10% today. Additional key trends which are associated with these trends are the collaboration between developers, which is easier in the cloud, the need for professional programmers to deliver their applications faster and with less cost and with less need for complex infrastructure. In addition, in order to reduce the cost and speed up the delivery of applications, business users and non-developers will be empowered to develop with no coding simple applications that doesn't require the assistance of professional programmers. All these trends we took into account when in the vision and the design of the SAP Web IDE. You may have been familiar with different tools by SAP to development Fiori applications and specifically UI for SAP applications. The SAP Web IDE is a successor of all these products and is the tool which SAP invested in order to simplify and accelerate the development of UI for SAP applications. Our vision is to speed the development by reducing the effort, and we do so by covering the end-to-end development, application development lifecycle with one tool. And when we refer to the end-to-end application lifecycle development, we start from the prototyping of the application, then the development, the testing on the different devices, of course, the packaging and the deployment into different application landscape, and then later on, after we release the application, also the extension of the application in order to customize it and make it suitable for the different scenarios and customers. So what is the Web IDE on a nutshell? The Web IDE is a web-based development tool which is designed to simplify the end-to-end application lifecycle, and it is optimized for the development of SAP UI5 and SAP Fiori applications. It is running on SAP HANA Cloud Platform and SAP HANA. For SAP HANA, it's integrated into the HANA web-based development workbench. Having said that, the Web IDE is running on the HANA Cloud Platform and the HANA development workbench, but the deployment of the applications created with the Web IDE can be deployed to the different SAP landscapes, like the HANA Cloud Platform, like the ABAP repository on-premise, mobile devices, and more. Who are the target users for the SAP Web IDE? We target with the SAP Web IDE developers. Both internal developers are using the SAP Web IDE to develop the Fiori applications and SAP UI5 application, as well as, of course, external developers. We are targeting to use the SAP Web IDE. We also target non-developers with some WYSIWYG capabilities, which we plan to improve over time. And in the future, we also plan to target designers. How often do we release the versions of the SAP Web IDE? Since the SAP Web IDE is a cloud product, we released a new version on a monthly basis on SAP HANA Cloud Platform. With this release cycle, you can enjoy the latest innovation from the SAP Web IDE. On the other hand, for this course, it will be you will see that there is a gap between what we record and what exactly we show now in the recordings and the actual product which you will use for your exercises when the course will take place. So please take it into account and understand the benefits for that. So this is, in a nutshell, the SAP Web IDE. What are the key use cases where you can leverage the SAP Web IDE? So the first and most relevant use case for this course is the development of new Fiori applications and new SAP UI5 applications. The second use case is extending SAP Fiori applications. SAP is investing a lot in order to make it easier for the customers and partners to extend the SAP applications and customize it to their own needs. You can use the Web IDE, SAP Web IDE to develop SAP UI5 mobile hybrid applications. And the SAP Web IDE is building with an extensible architecture which enables internal and external developers to extend the SAP Web IDE with new plugins and templates. What are the benefits for you to use the Web IDE? So, on a nutshell, the benefits is really to reduce the effort for the development of SAP UI5 and Fiori application and extending the SAP Fiori applications. You develop the application once and then you can deploy it on the different SAP landscape and run it on any device, mobile, tablet or desktop. You reduce the cost and complexity involved with setting up the infrastructure for a development environment with leveraging a cloud-based IDE. You increase developer productivity by simplifying the development process. Both things would cover the whole application development process, from the development, the testing, the deployment and the extension later on. And we also invest on many rapid development tools like templates and the WYSIWYG editor, which I will present later during this course. You improve the team productivity and the collaboration with integrated Git offering. What are the key features of the SAP Web IDE? I will not get into the details. We will get into the details in the next units and as we develop some Fiori applications using the Web IDE, but just a high-level overview of the key features. So first of all, the SAP Web IDE is a development environment, and it includes a source code editor with the SAP UI5 specific code completions. One of the rules of the SAP Web IDE is that code always comes first, and with code you can do everything and change all the automatically generated code that we enable with templates and with the Wig editor. So the source code editor, we invest in the source code editor, and we provide a powerful source code editor with specific SAP UI5 code completion. We provide project persistency via integration with Git. We provide a layout editor with the WYSIWYG capabilities for non-developers, and also to accelerate the development of developers who knows to code but want to save time and to do some UI development with the WYSIWYG. The layout editor is in this version of the recording 1.7. It's still an experimental feature, but we plan to release it for productive reasons. Mock data support for testing purposes. So we provide a mock data service for OData built in, which you can use for testing during your development. Instant preview in the browser with different screen resolutions, powerful search capability, interactive extension mechanism especially for the SAP Fiori applications, but also other developers who develop the applications according to the SAP UI5 extension directions can leverage the extensibility capabilities of the SAP Web IDE. And you can import and deploy the applications you develop with the Web IDE into the SAP on-premise ABAP repository or HANA Cloud Platform. In addition, as I mentioned, we invest a lot in templates and extensibility in order to accelerate the development process. There are different templates that are provided out of the box with the SAP Web IDE to simplify the application development. So we provide many templates for SAP Fiori application development, like master detail, master detail, fact sheet application creation, and more. And we continue adding templates. SAP UI5 application templates for both basic projects, but also mobile hybrid applications with capsule support. We provide a template for develop Web IDE plugins and templates. And there are different SAP groups which extend the basics SAP Web IDE, which we provide with additional capabilities like Cloud Portal templates and visualization. The extensibility, there are different options to extend SAP UI5 applications on general and Fiori applications specifically. And here I list the different capabilities that you have for extending the applications. We will cover the extensibility capabilities and how to do it with the SAP Web IDE in the next units and in the next units of this course. I would like to introduce you also to the different plugins that we have in the SAP Web IDE, which are provided by other SAP groups. The first one is the Hybrid Application Toolkit, which enables you to create, test, and build Apache Cordova hybrid applications, and using templates, code completions, and all the rapid development mechanism that we provide for the other SAP UI5 and Fiori applications. You have an OData model editor that enables you to develop your own OData model using the OData model audit editor within the SAP Web IDE framework. Factsheet to enable you to develop a factsheet application. VizPacker to create visual extensions for analytics. And the SAP HANA Cloud Portal also develop a plugin that enables you to easily create open social widget for use in Cloud Portal sites. Before we complete this unit, I would like to give you a system context from a technical point of view. How is the SAP Web IDE related to the SAP environment? So you see here the SAP Web IDE. As we said, it is running on the HANA Cloud platform. The architecture includes plugins and templates that can come either from the SAP, the group, our group itself, or other SAP stakeholder, and also external developers. We rely on Orion, Git, and SAP UI5, and the applications which are developed with the SAP UI5, with the SAP Web IDE, either SAP UI5 applications or Fiori applications, can be deployed to the different SAP deployment landscape like HANA Cloud Platform, App Repository on-premise, mobile devices, and in the future additional SAP landscape like SMP and more. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. In this unit, you will learn how to access the SAP Web IDE from your SAP HANA Cloud Platform free trial account and the capability it provides you through the different phases of the end-to-end application development process. Before we start, this slide provides an overview of the development process with the SAP Web IDE. So with the SAP Web IDE, we support two types of project, either a new project or an extensibility project, which is an extension of an existing application without changing the original code of the application. The extensibility concept is very powerful for changing or customizing applications from SAP, for example, but also internal applications or partner apps, and without changing the original code of the application. This can be useful when you want to upgrade later on the application with new innovation and with supportability of the original application. The extensibility project is based on the SAP UI5 extensibility concept, and the SAP Web IDE actually implements its principles within the IDE, and it will be discussed into details during the later weeks, week 5 of this course. So first we create the project, either a new project or an extensibility project. The next phase is the development. For development, we provide different capabilities. The first one, of course, is coding. As we said, the SAP Web IDE is intended for both professional developers and rapid developers. And for the coding, we provide a powerful source code editor with code completion, dynamic API reference, and so on, specifically optimized for SAP UI5. Then we provide different templates that you can actually start the project with different templates that provided either by SAP, or you can develop your own template. And the template, it's actually a wizard that guide the user who developed the application with a step-by-step process, and automatically generated the needed files and code for the app. You can use the template either to create the application if it exactly fits your needs, or you can use it as a starting point and to generate an original code and then enhance it. We provide a layout editor for what you see is what you get UI creation. And this is the goal is of this the layout editor is really to simplify and accelerate the UI development. This feature is currently in experimental feature, so it's available only on your on your trial account, not in the productive environment, and we plan to release it soon. We are looking for feedback from users before we release it for the productive version. Then for extension project, we provide visual extensibility that makes it really easy for the developer to extend SAP UI5 or SAP Fiori application and select the right element that you want to extend and choose the different extension options that the SAP UI5 provides. So the first step of the development process after the development is the preview. And of course, this is an iterative process, so you can go back and forth, and we will see it as we go along in the next units. We have a preview or a simulator integrated within the SAP Web IDE, where you can test the applications in different screen sizes that fits into the different devices, of course, where the application should run. You can also test it with different languages if you have the translations. And for those who use it for a hybrid application development, you can also have a preview in a companion app or in a mobile device. When you're happy with the application you created, you can deploy it to different SAP environments, and the deployment is also part of the development process, and we provide integrated deployment to various environments, and we add a new environment with time, so stay tuned. The focus for this course is the deployment to SAP HANA Cloud Platform and to the ABAP repository on-premise. We also provide with the hybrid application toolkit deployment to iOS and Android devices. You can manually deploy to the SMP or HCP mobile services, and also to other manually you can also deploy the application to other SAP environments. We use, as we will show later, we use the Git on SAP HANA Cloud Platform for a version control management. Okay, so let me now show you how you access the SAP Web IDE from your HANA Cloud account, which you open in Week 2, Unit 5. So this is the HANA Cloud Platform cockpit. And here under subscriptions, you will have the SAP Web IDE. Once you click the link here, it will be opened. Okay. This screen will be opened, and now you have here the application URL. Okay, and this is the SAP Web IDE. I recommend you, for your convenience through this course, to add this URL to your favorites or add a bookmark, so it will be easier for you to access it later on during the different exercises of this course. With the SAP Web IDE, we support different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer version 10 and 11. But I will use the Chrome for showing the exercises and throughout this demonstration. Okay, so this is the SAP Web IDE. You have here as a reference a description of the different areas of the IDE, but I will show it here on my SAP Web IDE account. So I'm using also my free trial account, so it will be the same as yours. So you can see these are the menus. Here you can see my username. This is the toolbar with the different options. Here you can see this is like the tree for my the projects that I'm developing with the SAP Web IDE. Here you have like your preferences, and you can see that there are some customization and preferences that you can choose and select. We have this is like the where you have the code editor. Let me just as an example open a file, so you can see it. And here on the right side I have the different panes. This is not this is the vSpeaker quick preview. It's external, like it's a plugin preview. It's not one of the core panes of the SAP Web IDE. This is search and replace, so you can search for content from your whole project tree, as well as within the file that you are working on. You have here a Git, so the Git is integrated with the SAP Web IDE, and you can use it to manage your version and collaborate with your team. We have here a Git history, some collaboration with using SAP Gem, API reference, which will be very useful, and we will show it during when we go into the more advanced units of development with the SAP Web IDE. And this is the outlined editor, which is more useful with the WYSIWYG layout editor, and we will show how to use it later on. Okay, so okay, if we move to the next, here you have like the description of all the different areas that I just showed. You have various options to create a new project with the SAP Web IDE, and here in these slides you see the different options. In this course, we will focus more on the creating a new project from a template, but you can also import a project from different repositories, and of course clone a Git repository to start with a project. Let me show you how it looks here. So when you open a new project, you can either open a project from a template or from sample applications, which we refer in the next unit, or we can open an extension project. We can import it from different sources, and we can clone a repository from the Git. Okay, we have different capabilities with the SAP Web IDE. Let me show you the different templates that we have. By the way, something that you can already see, we have the available plugins are all the core plugins which are provided with the SAP Web IDE. In the external plugins, you can see all the plugins which are provided by SAP, but from additional groups within the SAP, and you can mark yourself these plugins as enabled, so you can use them through your development and leverage the capabilities. So now I will show all the different templates that we have. So so this is when we create a project from a template. You can see here all the templates that are provided out of the box with the SAP Web IDE, either internal or external plugins, and external developers can also create their own templates and add and enhance the capabilities of the Web IDE, or create some new templates. We will not get into the details of that in the scope of this course. So here you can see the different categories of templates that we have. So we have SAP UI5 project templates to simplify the creation of SAP UI5 applications, either basic applications or hybrid mobile applications with capsule support. We have a template for, of course, for SAP Fiori application development, plugin development, HANA Cloud Portal widgets, and visualization extension project for analytics. We will get into more details of the templates and how to use them later on during the more advanced units of this course. So the goal of the templates is really to accelerate the development process and to provide you with a good starting point to develop the application with no coding. Okay, as we said, we have also all the coding. Once you create the application from template, either a template that provides you some visualization of the application, or a simpler template that just provides like the infrastructure and the file structure and the connectivity for developing an application. You have the code editor with code completion for different, for JavaScript, XML, and specifically for SAP UI5. You have code snippets and the very useful APIs reference pane. And we will see how to use it later on. We also have the layout editor for WYSIWYG development of the UI. With the layout editor, we support XML views, and we recommend to work with XML views when you develop the application. If you use only the code editor, you can use different types of other types of views as well. But if you want to leverage the layout editor, you need to work with the XML views, and you can switch between the code editor and the layout editor during your development. So let me just show you with the layout editor the components of the layout editor. So here I have an application that I created from a template. So if we want to open for example, the master view XML, here you can see the code editor, and we can now open it also with the layout editor. Okay, and here you can see the different areas of the layout editor. So we have the palette here, which contains the different SAP UI5 control that you can drag and drop into the canvas area. This is the canvas area which actually displays the application as in the way that will correspond to how it will appear in the finished application. We have here the properties, the data pane that shows you the properties and the data for a marked control. And then here we have the outline pane that shows you that provides you an outline of the XML view and enables you to see like the specific element that you are changing in the XML view. And here again we will get into the details, and we will see how to use it later on in the more advanced units. Okay. You have, when you completed the development stage, you can run the application, and you have an integrated preview within the SAP Web IDE. You have here various options, and we will show it later on. Maybe specifically for Fiori, it is important to mention that you can run the application either in the preview, and you can use the SAP Fiori Launchpad Sandbox to actually run the application in the preview in the same way that it will run on the Fiori Launchpad. You can also later on deploy and run the application either from the HANA Cloud platform or from the ABAP server. When after the application is ready and you use the preview to test it, you can deploy the application into the different you have various options as we described before, and we will focus in this course in two options. One is to deploy to SAP HANA Cloud Platform, and then from there you can also register to the Fiori Launchpad in the cloud, which is now not available yet in productive environment, but I hope that, it's available in productive, but not yet in the free trial environment. And this is also something that is planned. And you can also deploy the application from the ABAP repository. And in this course, we will focus on these two specific options. The other options will be probably covered in other courses. The SAP Web IDE uses the Git on SAP HANA Cloud Platform for version control. Version control is used in order to enable the developer keep the versions of a specific file or a group of files over time, and then if necessary recall a specific version later on. The Git is a widely used version control, and the unique thing, one of the unique thing about it, it's that it has distributed versioning. So it means there is no central repository for the project, but actually each developer has a complete repository for the whole project and the whole project history, and it is very useful for version control management, as well as support different collaborative workflows. And in the SAP Web IDE, there is an integration with the SAP HANA Cloud Platform Git system. You can also configure your own Git, but in this course we will use the SAP HANA Cloud Platform Git. So this is my Web IDE. You see here the Git pane. So through this pane you can do like commit and push, as well as other commands like fetch, rebase, and so on. And you can see also your version history through the history pane. Okay, thank you. Hello and welcome back. In this unit, you will learn how to connect the SAP Web IDE to a remote system in order to consume data from backend, and how to create a Fiori master detail app with the SAP Web IDE. Let's start. So the steps that we will go through in this unit. First, I will show you how to set up a connection to a backend remote system in order to consume the data through an OData service in your app. This is a step that you have to do only once, and then you can create many projects and many applications which are using consuming data from the same from this same backend system. And the next steps will be creating of a new project from a template, and then go through the template wizard and create the Fiori master detail app. When the app is ready and the code was generated, we will run the app in the preview from the SAP Web IDE environment, and we will look at the results. For the purpose of this course, we give you two options for using an OData service. The first option is we have a SAP Gateway demo system, which you can use in order to consume a real OData service. The other option is to use a local EDMX file that you can generate and build your Fiori UI disconnected from a backend. This is also a scenario that is common in real world, where the UI development is decoupled from the backend development, and there is an OData EDMX files that is used as the interface between the front end and the backend. Before I show how to connect to the SAP Gateway demo system that you can use for this course, I would like to show you a high-level architecture of SAP Web IDE on SAP HANA Cloud Platform, and how the connectivity to your backend system works. So SAP HANA Cloud Platform provides an SAP HANA Cloud Connector, which enables the secure SSL tunneling between your backend system and your front-end system, and the SAP HANA Cloud Platform. The Cloud Connector needs to be installed on a machine which has access to your internal network where the backend is installed on the one hand, for example, SAP Gateway, and the open internet when SAP HANA Cloud Platform exists on the other hand. The SAP Gateway system is already available on the open internet, so we don't have to use the SAP HANA Cloud Connector for this course. Another mechanism available with the SAP HANA Cloud Platform is the destination, and the destination enables you to connect into a backend system from the SAP HANA Cloud Platform or from the SAP Web IDE. You need the destination because your browser is accessing both the SAP Web IDE server and your backend system, and to avoid the cross-origin problem, you need to define a destination, and in this way, the HANA Cloud Platform can serve like a proxy that enables you to work with both server sides. Okay, so let's continue and do that. Additional information is available here in our SCN page, which was already presented in previous units, and you can find there a lot of information about how to connect your SAP Web IDE to your backend system, either the SAP Gateway demo system or your own backend system with the Cloud Connector. Okay, so let's go back to your SAP HANA Cloud Platform cockpit, and here we will define a destination that will enable you to access the SAP Gateway demo system. So let's go here to the destination. We prepared for you in the course exercise for this unit a destination file content that you should just copy into a text file and import it from here from the cockpit. So let's do that. Okay, you have to define a name, and please pay attention to put a description that makes sense to you, that is meaningful for you, because this is what you will see later on in the SAP Web IDE template wizard in the data connectivity phase. You can either use basic authentication or in the destination definition, or no authentication, and then you will have to add your credentials each time you use it. I'm adding my credentials here. Let's do the save. Okay, so now I can see this destination in okay, you see this destination in the destination list on the SAP HANA Cloud Platform cockpit. Let's now go back to the SAP Web IDE. I will refresh it so it will use the updated list of destinations. And we will now create a new Fiori master detail app. So we will create a file new. We will create a project from template. Here you have the different templates which are providing with the SAP Web IDE. Let's choose, these are the different categories of templates. Let's choose the SAP Fiori application. You can see here the different Fiori application templates. I will choose the Fiori Master Detail application. Here you can have a preview of what this template is all about and how it will look like, so you can decide which template you want to use. Okay. The next step of the wizard. Okay, this application will be a master detail application that will track sales order. So I call it the project name sales order. The next step of the wizard is the data connectivity. We provide here various options for connectivity. The first option, which I will use Service Catalog, actually enables you to access different systems which support the Gateway Service Catalog concept. And when you select the system, so I will select the system that I just defined, the Gateway Demo OData Service OpenSAP. This is the description of the destination that I defined in the SAP HANA Cloud Platform cockpit that is presented here. And here I can see all the OData services which are available on this system. I will choose the sales order. I can browse it through the wizard to see actually which OData collections are available in this service. And I can even see the different properties which are available in this data collection. The SAP Web IDE do some validation check that this is really a service that we can use for that it's a valid OData service, and we can use it for building this application. We have here additional data connectivity options. Workspace or file system can be used for scenarios that you don't have a connectivity for the backend system, but you use the EDMX file in order to generate the front end, the UI of the application, and test it with the SAP Web IDE mock service. And service URL is to connect to backend systems which doesn't work with the SAP Gateway Service Catalog, but you can add here a specific OData service URL. Okay, so we will proceed with the option of the sales order OData service. The next step is the template customization. So a template is actually a wizard which generate an application code. The template contains placeholder for the application developer to add either static content or dynamic content which are relevant for his application. So for example, in this example of Fiori Master Detail application, we can use the same template, which is actually the Fiori Master Detail concept and UI design, for different use cases. We can use it for sales order tracking, like in this case. We can do it. We can use it to track flights or employee benefits, or every you can think about many use cases which are related to different OData services and different line of business which can use the same template. And that's why we need these placeholders in the template and the customization phase in the template in order to create the application that we want, which is specific for our use case, using the generic template, the generic Fiori UI pattern that we have here. Okay, so as a title, so this is the template, the application, the way the application will look like in the end. And now we have to add the static data, which is like the text and the titles, as well as the dynamic data, which is actually the data that is coming from the backend and is presented through the application. Okay, so the title here will be, let's call it sales order tracking. The O data collection. In this service, we have two O data collections. One is the headers, which is actually the sales orders, and the second one is the sales order items. And we have like one-to-many relations between the sales order headers and the sales order items. So let's choose the sales order headers. As the item title, we can choose the the order ID. Numeric attribute, we will give the order value. You see that we have here automatic completion, and the units attribute will be the currency. Okay, the currency. So this is the master section of the template, and we have here also a details section. So as the title, we will put sales order details. Status, we don't have a suitable property in this O data collection, so we can leave it free. And for the attributes, let's use the customer ID and the document type and date. As attributes. In the Fiori Master Detail template, we have also an option to create an icon tab filter with the O data navigation. So, for example, in sales order, if we have an additional in this additional data collection in this service, for example, for customer details, we can use this O data navigation to present the content for a different O data collection in this O data service. But in this specific service, we have only two O data collections, the headers and the items, with one-to-many relations. So we will leave it empty. So just to show what was the customization and which parameters we use. So you see here the master section with the three parameters that we added. You can see also the detail sections with two icon tab filters. The first one is the detail section, and the second one is the navigation section, which we leave empty for this exercise. Okay, now let's press next and finish, and let's see what is the code that the template generated and how it looks like. Okay, so you see here in my web IDE, this is the sales order project. You can see how it looks like. And let's now run it in the preview, in the SAP web IDE preview, to see how it looks like. So this is the SAP web IDE preview. It actually accesses the backend system with the O data service that I defined. You can see here the information that is coming from the backend with all the fields that we defined. Okay, so this is the sales order application that was generated with the wizard, with the template, and let's look now how it looks like. So I mark here the index HTML, and now let's run it. Okay, this is the preview, the simulator that is integrated within the SAP Web IDE environment. You can see here that we can run the application with different screen sizes for the different device. Like large is desktop, medium is more a tablet size, and small is a smartphone. What you see here is actually the application with the data that is coming from the backend system that we define. So you can see all the information here. We can change the screen size for a smartphone. And you can see here the Fiori navigation, how it looks like on a smartphone. You can edit and even choose your own screen size if you like. Additional capabilities that we have here, you can change the orientation of the application and check how it looks like. This is very powerful when you want to really build responsive applications that run on the different devices, and to see how the application looks like on the different devices and screen sizes. And if you have a translation, you can switch between the different languages and see how the application looks like. Additional thing that we have here is we have like QR code in case you really want to run the URL on a device. Okay, so this is the preview. The application looks good, and we can either use now the application as is, or use this as a base point for additional customizations. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. In the previous unit, we learned how to connect the SAP Web IDE to a remote backend system and create a Fiori master detail app from a template connected to the backend system and getting the data from the backend system. In this unit, we will show how to create an app with no connectivity to a backend system using an EDMX file which contains the model of the OData service and leveraging the SAP Web IDE mock service to test the application. In the end, we will also show how to modify the mock data in order to enable you to test the application with the specific data that you want to present. Such an approach will be useful for cases where you want to develop the front end and the back end in parallel in case the back end is not ready yet. So you define the OData model for the interface between the front end and the back end, and then you can do the front end and back end development in parallel, or in cases where you don't have back end connectivity. The steps that we will go through in this unit: we will create an EDMX file with the OData model. We will create an app from a template in a similar way as we did in the previous unit, but this time with no connectivity to a backend system, but by leveraging the EDMX file with the OData model. And then we will test the result application with mock service and edit the mock data. Let's start. Okay, we will first create a folder and an EDMX data with the OData service model. So I will call it schema. And now I will add, so I created a folder where I can put more than one EDMX file. I will now create a new OData model file with the OData model editor of the SAP Web IDE. Let's call it sales order. Okay. We have prepared in the exercise of this unit the EDMX file already with the model, the same model that we use when we use the backend system. I will copy that. And I will add it here. We can use the beautify capabilities of the OData model editor. So now it also looks nice. Let's save it. And now we will create a new project from template like in the previous time, but this time with no backend connectivity, using the EDMX file which contains the OData model for the application. So we select again. I will not get again into all the details because you have seen it in the previous unit, so I will go through most of the steps quite fast. I will just show in detail the data connectivity stage. So this time I will call it sales order mock. I will go to the workspace, and here I see the schema folder. I will select the sales order EDMX file I've just created. We can now, in a similar manner like before, we can see the data collections which are contained in this OData service. Here I have now the template customization phase, and I will use the same parameters that I used before. Sales order tracking, the OData collection is the same one. The item title is again the order ID. The numeric attribute will be the order value. And the unit is the currency. I don't have the status, and for the attributes I will use the customer ID and the document type, and document date. Okay, now let's continue to the next step and press the finish. Okay, so you see this is the sales order mock project that was created from the templates. The structure of the project is the same as we have before, but now we have no backend connectivity. So to see how the result looks like, I can run it now with the mock data. So I select again the index.html and I run it with mock data. So you see the same preview environment like we have seen before with all the capabilities, but instead of really connecting to the backend system to bring the data, we generate the data according to the type of the different entities and parameters that we selected here, and all the data is generated automatically. So you can see like order ID 1, 2, 3, etc. All the other capabilities are completely the same. So for the sake of really testing the application and see how it works, you can do everything without the real backend connectivity. Now let's say that, let me go back to the presentation for a second. Okay, so we show how to run the application with the mock data, and now with the mock service we have two options: either to use the mock service to generate the data automatically, or to provide data in JSON file, and this is what I will demonstrate now. So let's say now that you want to control the data of the mock service, which we test the application with to validate that it makes sense and it works, and the application looks good. So we go to the model folder in the project. We select the metadata XML file, and then with right click we open it with the we edit the mock data. And here you see a table with the different properties of the OData collections. You can either generate random data and then change it, or you can just add the data. So order ID will be, document type will be contract, document date. So according to the type of the property, you have some guidance and assistance. So if it's a date, for example, you have a calendar. So let's do the date February 3. Customer ID again will be just sales org. We can put EMEA, distribution channel, retail, division, EMEA, order value, let's do it 4,000 euro. Okay, now we do OK. By default, there is a flag that you use this data and not the automatic generated mock data source. Now you see that we have a JSON file that was automatically created with the information that we added. If we will now run the application we created with the mock service, we will see that that only the data that we entered appears, but it's the accurate data, the specific data that we added. Okay, so I've presented till now how easy it is to develop a Fiori application with no backend connectivity using an EDMX file and leveraging the SAP Web IDE mock service for testing the application with no backend connectivity. Thank you.